Okay, so this could be a little long. I'm embarrassed, and in some ways I let myself get played into breaking rules that I set for myself. And around here in the world of Chris, self-betrayal is something we take pretty seriously. But I have this channel because I believe that me speaking up about my mistakes may help others. And if it does help you, please hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed already, please hit subscribe. Okay, so story time. And this is just my own perspective, my own interpretation. It's incomplete, but it's also all I have to go on because there's the absence of the other person's perspective. So it's limited, but I'm going to aim to be as truthful as possible. And while I don't live in the past, I need to venture into it a little in order to tell this story. Around 1 year ago, I was coming back home from a supermarket, walking to the tram stop, when I looked and I saw a girl in the distance. And when I saw her looking at me, I was really taken aback and just stunned because she was really pretty, and I walked across the road without even looking. And that's a finable offense here in Poland. Anyway, when she got closer, I spoke to her and said, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you that you had really pretty eyes." And that opened the conversation. And we got into quite a deep conversation straight away. It turned out that she lived right around the corner from me. And after we got off the tram, two homeless men came over to us, speaking in Polish. And I didn't fully understand, but she spoke with them, and her instant reaction was, "Hold on, Chris, I just want to buy these guys some food." And I was so taken aback that someone so beautiful had such kind instincts. And I helped her buy the food for these homeless guys. And seeing that side of her really lowered my usual barriers, my usual defenses. And we began dating, and she absolutely flooded me with love and affection and her time. And I became emotionally attached much more quickly than I usually would. And I remember waking up, looking at her and thinking that I was the luckiest man in the world. And she had some problems, like deciding what direction in life she wanted to go in terms of job and career. But I really wanted to be able to help her with that. And she talked so confidently about wanting to grow together and to be by my side. And we looked really good together. She had this unusually dark skin for a Polish girl. I think one of her great-grandmothers was Italian or something like this. And I remember thinking it looked like we were from this same unplaceable, distant country. And I felt like, wow, this is really it. It's like we're made for each other.
I never dreamed that I'd meet somebody like you. No, I never dreamed that I'd lose somebody like you. No, I don't wanna fall in love.
But then suddenly she started to become unreliable and to cancel dates. At first she had some family issues to blame, and I tried to be patient and understanding. But then later, when she was still unreliable and flaking on dates for no good reason, I spoke to her about my concerns, and she promised to do better and to communicate more. But that promise didn't last long, and she just became more and more distant, and so eventually I ended it. And this seems to be a recurring theme for men whose natural instincts, like mine, lean into loving someone steadfastly, no matter how we're treated. For the men watching this, many, I'd say probably all women will do something like this, and I'm not even sure it's conscious, but women will test you with a situation where you have to choose between your love for her and your self-respect. And if you choose love for her, you will lose her respect. And if you lose her respect, you will lose her love and attention. She won't see you as choosing love for her over your self-respect. She will just see you failing to defend your own dignity. And if you won't defend yourself, how can you defend her? If you don't love yourself, how can you possibly love her? Perhaps that relationship could have been saved if I'd been less patient and more selfish and less self-sacrificial and didn't allow her to mistake my kindness for weakness. Or perhaps not, we'll never know. But it was really difficult to get over her. I admit that for months I would look out of this very window, expecting to see her walk past because she lived so close. But I moved on with my life, even if my emotions were slow to catch up. I dated a lot, and despite the repeated advice you hear that the best way to get over someone is to get into bed with someone else, well, let's just say I tried that many times and it didn't really work. In fact, it made me feel worse. I still felt like at a very deep level she was the one that I should be with, and everything I was doing was against my deepest convictions. In February, we started speaking again, and she told me that she loved me, that she could see a future with me, and she wanted to be by my side. And we planned to meet on a Friday night to cook and eat together, and well, that ended up extending it into the next day. And I was overjoyed. I thought, wow, the life that I thought I lost, where I was so happy and so overjoyed, it was back. And we made plans to meet up later that weekend. And saying goodbye, she threw her arms around me, kissed me passionately, told me that she would see me soon, and then ghosted me. Messages left not even on read, but on delivered. Around 2 weeks ago, I saw her as we were getting onto her bus. I sat opposite her and asked her how she was doing. And without sharing any personal details of hers, she told me that things hadn't been good for her, and straight away she started apologizing profusely for ghosting me, saying that it was unacceptable and that I deserved better, and getting rid of me wasn't something that she was celebrating, but I'm better off without her. I just listened and smiled and said that I'd have preferred to be involved in that decision-making process. She started to cry, and I asked if she wanted me to go away, and she told me no. I said I'd still like to talk sometime if she felt ready, and she said, even now? And I said, yeah. She cried a bit more, and I hugged her for a bit, let her go, and then she leaned over and hugged me again. And as I got off the bus, I said to her, you know, I still love you. And as the bus pulled away, I saw her with her head in her hands, crying. Once I've started to love someone, I've never stopped loving them. And this is distinct from wanting to be in a relationship with them. I can love someone whilst also accepting that the door is closed and I will never again be in a romantic relationship with them. I genuinely wish each of them well, and I'd come to their help if they needed it, regardless of how they treated me. Because how I love isn't about them, it's about me. And I followed up with an offer to help, unconditional and separate from any discussion on us as a couple. But she never got back to me. And in many ways, seeing her that last time and seeing her reaction, it gave me some closure. I was able to have an emotional funeral for this relationship, which for so long I'd felt like it had so much potential and so much life ahead of it. But she's never coming back. And I have no choice but to move forward and evolve into someone for whom this relationship would probably not fit. And largely that's happened. I realized that in this relationship, I wanted to save her, someone kind and feminine and beautiful, but addicted to chaos. And I mean, I can't tell the future, but I really do wonder if her fate is to probably remain addicted to chaos, to find some chaotic partner, bring children into that chaos, who will then continue the cycle. And And that's not in my power or responsibility to try to prevent. And I say this, and I wish her all the best, but I say this prediction because I've seen this in my own family. It's what I'm used to. But that's the nature of attraction, isn't it? We aren't attracted to what we're best. We aren't attracted to what is best for us, but what we're used to. And this leads me to that missing part of the grieving process for me. Through therapy and coaching, I realized that I wasn't able to let go because I was always the one to try to save my loved ones from their own chaos. My family had no leader. My father abdicated that position and instead preferred to be an emotionally volatile, permanent victim. My mother had to step into the role of leader, picking the direction of the family, and because my dad wouldn't, she despised him for failing to step up. Meanwhile, my father just opposed every direction just to feel important, a wounded child throwing tantrums. And at the same time, my mother got to relive and fight her own abusive father through the avatar of her husband. The cycle of chaos continued and passed to the children. Now, given my last few statements, it leads me to the uncomfortable possibility that perhaps I was not so attached because she treated me so well in the beginning, or because she was so kind, or because she was so beautiful. But maybe this attachment was so strong because she also gave me that chaos and the role of the savior, trying to save the relationship and saved my loved one, the role that I was used to having for most of my life. And I've had to undo almost every lesson I was taught in my upbringing. I'm largely who I am today, despite and not because of my upbringing. And that's something that I'm still working on. Something that I'm still working on, is to realize that, and catching myself when I'm trying to save people from the consequences of their own bad choices, when they themselves aren't really looking for help. You see, the mind is like an iceberg. The known, easily accessible, conscious part floats above the water for all to see. But the biggest part, the unconscious, stays beneath the water. And so I discovered another part of me that was previously beneath the water. And I see a lot of people saying things like, oh, I've given up on love, all men are trash, all men are cheaters, all women are hoes, all women are gold diggers, etc. To those people, I say, have you tried just not being an idiot? I would say that this year is probably the first one in which the majority of women I've attracted have been emotionally healthy. In the past, I kept attracting and being attracted to, mostly but not exclusively, toxic women and scaring off the more healthy ones because of something broken in me. And it would be idiotic to place all the blame on the outside and not even 1% in myself. There are good, emotionally healthy people everywhere. You know, there's like 7 billion people on Earth, 3 or 4 times as many as there were 100 years ago, 7 times as many as there were 200 years ago. More than have ever existed. And maybe you're just not attracted to healthy people, and you're projecting your own experience onto the entire population. Please don't go telling yourself and others 40% of the story in order to appear like 100% of the victim. Take ownership of your own mistakes, because to do otherwise is as toxic as the people you're complaining about. Anyway, that's probably pissed off a lot of people, but I'm talking about where I fucked up. I was not self-aware enough to see what was happening, replaying the same pattern as I inherited from my childhood. And looking back, I can see similar mistakes through my life. Now I've got some confidence that I've learned from it. Like I said, the women coming into my life now and wanting to stick around have been better people. And I've also become far more cautious about how much I'm investing emotionally. Maybe Socrates said that the unexamined life is not worth living, because without that self-examination, we're just replaying the same story with slightly different characters each time. But once we really do learn, not so much about other people, as much as what is in ourselves that led us to making those mistakes, that led us to choosing those people and to becoming addicted to them. Once we learn that, we can finally move on and start a new story. So I wish the very best to my ex. I still love her. I always will. I wish the best to myself. I will always love myself, I hope. And I wish the best to you. Thank you very much for listening.